Hello, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Inside Music Curation. I'm here today with our entire Feed Media Group music curation team, and we are very excited to share some insights and trends from 2021, right? 2021, I think, is the year that we're wrapping up, and talk about some tips for anyone curating fitness music in 2022. So hello, everyone. Stens, Mike, Claire, Dario, Juan, Armando, thanks for joining us. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Just want to get started. If you haven't had a chance, if you're not familiar with Feed Media Group, you can check out feedmediagroup.com and find us on all of the social media channels. We just published an infographic today that features these 2021 fitness music trends, so you can follow along there. And I'll share a few things as we go. But again, welcome to Inside Music Curation. I'd love to start off, last time we were we were talking a little bit about pop being popular in fitness, which is fitting. Maybe Armando, Dario, do you want to talk a little bit about, pop music and fitness?
Sure. Yeah, I'll step in. Like we mentioned in our last broadcast, popular music is it's great for workouts. There's been in the last year there's been a lot of diversity in music. Ranging from collaborations, with artists from South Korea to Latin America. We're starting to see some collaborations with African artists, and having that diversity. And let me backtrack, but trying to create playlists for fitness could be extremely difficult, because you want to try to engage multiple people in their workouts. And when you have diversity like that, it allows you to reach out and connect with people who are working out and grab that diversity of different customers.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the reasons pop is popular is familiarity. It's really important, especially when you're working out. There's been a lot of work done around this, and that sort of comfort level with the music really helps while you're working out. It allows your brain to sort of focus on something and pushes you through those workouts. And so it's expected then that music you're familiar with is going to do that. It's why, for a lot of customers, pop and throwbacks and things like that are, really important for helping people work out.
Yeah, definitely. And that just takes us, why don't we just dig right in, our top workout songs of 2021. So these are the songs that people are working out to over the last year. And I think, Dario, you just touched on it. It takes a little bit of time for songs to become popular. So I think, the first thing that someone might say when they take a look at this list is, hey, there's no 2021 songs on here. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, about kind of the arc of popularity and why these songs worked in 2021.
Yeah, like I was just saying, it takes time. A song comes out, it takes time for it to sort of disseminate through the population and get to a place where it's familiar, where you know it, where when it comes on in a workout, it gets you excited. And that's not when it first comes out. And it's, even for some songs, it takes a little bit longer than that. And so I think this is a great example of that phenomenon that, things, when you're not working out, a new song can be exciting, and it's on the radio or it's in a show, and that's okay. But it sort of lags a little bit when it's for fitness, because you do need to know the song in a very different way.
And Stens, I know in the blog post that you wrote, you had a great comparison about some Miley Cyrus hits.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, it was an anecdote that I could share pretty easily, that her biggest hit of 2020, which is the great Midnight Sky, it's an awesome dance pop song. I'm a fan of it. My son enjoys listening to it with us. but that was far more popular during 2021 than her newest hit was. Yeah, I just think these artists continue to make great music, a lot of them at a really, really quick clip and cadence, but sometimes, as Dario has said, there's a little bit of a lag in fitness, and in some respects we expect that.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go on and talk a little bit about the dominance of women that we see also?
Yeah, I'd love to touch on that.
Yeah, because I think it's a real standout when you look at this list that, fully 9 out of the 10 artists here are either female or female collaborations of songs. And I think it invites the question. I mean, I'm excited to see it in terms of representation. I think it's great. It doesn't by any means, the story here is not saying that we've reached equality on the radio or on YouTube or anything of that matter. But in terms of our fitness, we're seeing strong performance from women. And when I was reflecting on this, just a quick sidebar. I mean, I think familiarity is something that you're living with, that you're having a lot of time with. And I think that for a lot of us during 2021, as we're trying to keep our families safe and healthy, there's been a lot of forced togetherness still continuing. Whether we love it or not, it's there. And I think that what I've found with our 7-year-old son is that dance parties are critically important during the last 2 years. They have, massively more energy than we do. And so we do a ton of dance parties with Dua Lipa and Lady Gaga. And, we've been squeezing out all the beautiful juices of Chromatica and Future Nostalgia. Those 2 releases have been in constant rotation in my household. I think it's the feel good energy. It's mostly clean lyrics. We have to be careful here and there, but high energy. And I think that the parallels between a family dance party and an exercise, there's a lot right there. Even if you don't have a family, as you're looking for some of the same aspirational qualities.
Claire, I think you had some insights on that as well.
Yeah, I think for us in curating for fitness, dance pop does become sort of a dominant genre in terms of having, a higher BPM, have a lot of energy, you have a lot of dance remixes that get made. And I think so that lends itself very well to fitness. And, women are typically the dominating, gender of artists making a lot of that like fun, upbeat, poppy music.
Right on. Any other themes or threads? I think, Mike, you had mentioned that there were some similar credits happening on, even within this list.
Yeah, well, I mean, as we all know, a lot of these pop singers, these pop performers aren't necessarily the writers of their songs. But a lot of these songs do have a lot of the same writers. There's a songwriter named Justin Tranter, who was in a band called Semi Precious Weapons, has gone on to become a multiple Grammy-winning, just hit factory pop songwriter, and he wrote 3 of them, with the artist, usually, but yeah, they use a lot of the same folks are in the kitchen,
Awesome. So I'm gonna sidestep here. So we had the top workout songs of 2021, and again, these are the ones that are in the stations that our curation team is creating for our fitness customers like Mirror, Tonal, iFit, and then we also want to take a look at what 2021 songs are creeping in as well. And Dario, I'd love to hear a little bit about the mix of adding in new music for discovery. How you balance those well-known hits and where you find new tracks to add in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that discovery, sort of balance is important, and that you want to avoid things getting stale. And I think in doing that, leaning to things that are obviously earworms and, things that are can be quickly adopted in that sense. And I think in terms of the team's discovery, it's really just keeping our ear to the ground, industry wise, and sort of, I was talking to our other colleague, Arturo, the other day. It's sort of, like we're all, in a record shop sharing records. There's a lot of crosstalk between the team, which is really important. Like, oh, have you heard this? Oh, have you heard this? And that sort of word of mouth between the team allows us to get from a wide variety of sources that one person, may not be capable of doing.
Yeah, truly a team effort. And when we look at the numbers and we look at our customers, I mean, the top customers streaming 1 million songs a day, between the hundreds of fitness stations that you guys are curating, it would be really difficult for any one of you to A, manage the volume, but B, have a broad enough experience and expertise to be able to fill all of those out. Do you want to talk a little bit more about, trends in songs versus artists versus genres when we take a look at what's working?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something we've all noticed is, and we've been talking about this in contrast to, a few years ago, the big thing was pop was dark and slowing down. And that's sort of, since the start of the pandemic and other factors has been transitioning, and pop has been speeding back up. And this has a lot to do with the heavy 80s influence that's really creeping into things. And so it's speeding back up and it's getting much brighter. I mean, a great example on this, Feel Good by Polo and Panla, right? Like that's sort of where pop is heading. And I think Claire said it best, we haven't reached peak disco yet, and it's definitely coming, which is great for fitness. It's something that is really hard when you have a lot of music that's slower and darker, and you need up-tempo particularly for cardio and those sorts of things. But it's something that we're seeing in fitness. It's not just waiting for the remix. The actual song itself is picking up into that space.
Is that how you define peak disco, Claire?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sound. It's gonna make you want to boogie. So I think that's a good thing for any client looking to program music for fitness.
Awesome.
Do we have time for Juan to talk a little bit about trap, because we haven't heard from him, and he's kind of the trap master in our shop.
He is. If you don't follow along on our blog, Juan released a blog post called "Trap." It's a trap. So check it out. But yeah, we'd love for you to, synthesize a little bit about trap music in that's coming into fitness and just finding its way into all these other genres now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting. Like what everyone's saying, like things take time to essentially become popular. And at the beginning of the year, we were seeing a lot of like Latin artists like Bad Bunny, Ozuna, really just like filling up that space. And lately now you're seeing things like Thames, Burna Boy, and other African artists coming up and trending now. And it's interesting because, trap is everywhere, but trap is also making its ways into different genres. We're also seeing, trap being utilized not only for up tempo, down tempo, and we're also seeing trap speed up. So the trend in hip hop in trap is very, I think, lucrative. Not lucrative is probably the wrong word, but it's a fertile ground for fitness music in the coming future.
And any tips with curating it? I mean, like you said, there's a mixture of tempos that happens within trap. So how do you find?
Yeah. So mostly it has to deal with kind of like where the tempos sit, finding music that flows together in that same tempo range. Because let's say you have something like For the Gang, 42 Doug, or then you have like Red Light, Green Light, The Baby. They're two different trap songs, two different tempos, two different feels, but Red Light, Green Light you could work out to. The other one you can't. What I find interesting about curating it is that a lot of times when you're curating trap, it's less about what are necessarily the hits, and you are using the hits, but you're also utilizing earworms to construct that kind of flow within that station.
That's great.
Hey Juan, I heard a trap remix of Bing Crosby's "Here Comes Santa Claus" at a restaurant last night. I'll have to send it to you in case you're putting any holiday themed stuff together.
Trap is literally everywhere.
Can't escape it.
That's great. And then, when we're curating for fitness, beyond driving cardio and strength training workouts, there's yoga, there's a lot of meditation and sleep offerings within these fitness apps. Tell us how you guys are curating these stations to really help people chill out.
I can speak to that a little bit. I think when you talk about relaxing and therapeutic music, I mean, it's been so vitally important during the last 2 years. There was an early spike in ambient and classical listening. And then over the last year, we've definitely seen an increase for our customers that provide yoga, stretching, or meditation modalities. We're seeing spikes in those type of workout or exercise sessions. And so we spend a lot of time as curators thinking about appropriate music. And it's really different than everything else we've talked about. It's not really necessary usually to pay attention to the charts. It's much more on a gut level. I tend to think in terms of soothing down-tempo music where the vocals are optional and nothing that's too busy. So like there's a lot of great ambient music that I enjoy listening to. Dario and I were recently talking about it. I mean, Dario listens to a lot of ambient music, but as he pointed out, a lot of it's too active listening to use in that context. You really want something that's works great in the background. You don't want anything that kind of forces into the foreground. So it's really think about stuff that's less cluttered to use in that context. And then if it's vinyasa or something like that, or a flow kind, more intensity. And if it's more of like traditional, really slow paced yoga, then less intensive music.
Yeah, my next question was, what don't you want in these stations? What have you guys found really doesn't work here?
You don't want distractions, you don't want things that are going to take your mind away from what you're doing, which, ironically, a lot of things that are associated with yoga, like, gongs and other traditional things can actually be really distracting because they catch your ear, And so they're things that if you're just sitting and meditating can be helpful, especially the repetition. But if you're going through yoga and doing other things, can sort of really pull you out of that. In the same way that Stan mentioned, vocals, lyrics, they engage your brain in a way that's not helpful.
Yeah. Well, speaking of songs that don't work out, we have a listing of our top skipped songs. With a lot of the interfaces and music integrations, folks are allowed to skip songs during workouts. These happen to be the ones that were skipped the most. And I'd love to hear some insights here. I mean, you guys are going into these music stations every single month and optimizing, right? You're pulling old songs out, you're putting new songs in. What informs those decisions? What trends do you see, and how does that translate into this list?
Yeah, I don't know if everyone agrees, but I think for me, none of these songs are bad, right? But they are divisive, and I think that's things that are skipped is probably the greatest characteristic, which is why offering choice is really important. Right. And it's not only that, it may just be that someone's, not in the mood for that, or they've heard it too much. It's something I remember, like when all the way came out, it was everywhere, and it's the kind of thing that after a certain while, like, okay, I've heard that. I want to put it aside for now. And, in the case of someone like Blueface is very divisive, sort of, love it or hate it kind of scenario, which conversely, that Song by The Game is great, but that's a different.
What else? Did you guys have any big surprises this year when you look at the data? Maybe it's something not on this list, but other things that didn't work that surprised you?
I've only been on the team for less than half of this year. But one of my initial thoughts that I had or things that I had noticed was that, like, wow, people don't really want to hear Eminem yelling at them during a workout, but they actually do really like Lil Nas X and everything about that guy. So lots more Lil Nas X, lots less Eminem.
Positivity. It goes a long way. I think there's this trope of like montage scenes where you're like Eminem, but in actuality, people want to be encouraged, which is why I think like, Kim Petras, Lady Gaga are actually really popular. People want to feel good while they're working out. And that, really goes a long way.
So keep it uplifting, keep it fresh, a mixture of things that people have heard, but maybe haven't heard too much. Lots of, it's a real science to what you guys are doing. So, it's tough to distill it down into 6 slides and into a simple, year in review. But that's why we're here doing what we do. It's really great to get some insights. I'd love to step kind of out of the year in review and the fitness side of things and just find out, being the experts and you guys have such a wide variety of backgrounds and how you got here, what are you listening to outside of work? What are some of your top tracks of 2021? Stens, I'll have you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was thinking about this. I think all of us have really eclectic listening, and I think a lot of times I have to pull myself into the current and into the now. And I think the more that I do that, like if anybody ever wanted to read my memoir, which I'll never write, it'd be How I Learned to Stop Being a Snob and Love Pop Again. It's like getting pulled into the music that I knew and loved as a kid, because I had a long foray as a classical person and then into like indie rock and hip hop. And so I'm pulled back into the pop. But there's a lot of amazing pop out there. I like to always stir in some of the old classic stuff too. I'm kind of the old guy on the team. I have a lot of older tastes, but my 2 jams from the year would be probably SZA's Good Days. It's just so kind of like captures the mood of trying to get a good new start to the year of 2021. So if you haven't heard SZA's Good Days, so magical. And then recently the Save Your Tears remix of The Weeknd and Ariana Grande is just, to me, it's like pop perfection. They totally nailed it with that one.
Awesome. Mike, how about you?
I'm a little embarrassed to say it, but there's an album that came out this year that has been on so many sort of tastemaker, best albums of 2021 lists that I didn't even hear. I had no idea about this thing, and it's a band called Turnstile. It's a rock record. It's like a rock alt record, and so I just started listening to it, a month ago when all of those best of lists started coming out, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this the entire year. Like this would have taken me through the year in a really good way. Really good, straightforward rock record.
Counterclockwise twisting it, drop it off.
Awesome. Claire, what rose to the top of your list this year?
Yeah, I got really excited to see sort of all the different ways that pop kind of got to cross over into other genres. So I would say in terms of like even just my top listening albums of this year was probably Lil Nas X, Casey Musgraves, and Machine Gun Kelly, and sort of all the sort of like different things that they got to do to like expand within their wheelhouse respectively, but sort of bring all of those different sounds to the world of pop as well.
Awesome. Dario's favorites. What were your picks?
It's actually an album that just came out. The new album by Men I Trust. I've really been enjoying that. It's more of a mellow sort of scenario. I think that in conjunction with other things that pair well with that, and I think in regards to, I think everyone's probably got one sort of 80s revivalist that they're sort of championing. And for me, it's Jessie Ware. What's your pleasure of that album? Although it came out 2020, for 2021, if I need to put something on to like groove and dance, it does it in a way that I think is simultaneously an homage to that sound, but is so current that just sounds amazing.
Awesome. Juan, I'm curious, where you have such a resident metalhead, all these genres that you enjoy, Trap Master, what rose to the top for you?
So funny enough, Mike, I'm glad you got into that album. Turnstile, that new Turnstile record is awesome. A couple other ones that I really liked. Honestly, I love the new Kanye record. I know that's probably like a cop out, but I really do enjoy the new Kanye record. And I also really enjoyed the new Young Thug record. I thought it was cool. I thought it was definitely Young Thug being like Bon Iver for a second, getting to his feelings. But I thought there were some really solid songs on that record that I really enjoyed.
Awesome. And you had a great blog post and playlist about Young Thug as well. So another reason to check out the Feed FM blog. Lots of great anecdotes from these guys all year round. Right now we're talking year in review. Armando, what are your top tracks for the year?
For me, when I work out, I really enjoy listening to hip hop. So I was really happy with the J. Cole album, which was the off season, Nas, King's Disease 2. And another one that came out about a month ago is Andy Mineo, and that is Neverland 2 album. So if you haven't heard that, check that out. I think we're going to hear some tracks coming up in fitness from that album.
Excellent. Well, we're over time. We went over time, but I just want to throw one last question out there for you guys. I mean, we're, year in review. You could take all of these, use them as tips for 2022, and just maybe a quick round of, what you think is going to be the trend for 2022, or what, how this data and information in your experience of the years is going to push, where it's going to push fitness music in 2022 and the years to come.
I'll take point. The intensities, the intensities and tempos of music are going to keep speeding up. I think there's been a lot of stress over the last 2 years, and there's going to be a release of stress. And I think we can definitely expect that, we're going to see some nice clip and energy of music coming out, and I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
I think there's also a point where the industry is aware of fitness becoming more of an avenue to discover and or just plain listen to music. I think Dario said that the gym is the new club. I loved when you said that. And I don't know, I think that maybe not right now, but certainly at some point in the future, we're going to be seeing artists kind of be more mindful of the fitness space.
Right on.
I have two sort of crystal ball predictions. And they're a little bit, they might be long shots, but these are I'm personally hoping that these two things happen. I think as people start to incorporate more free weights or strength training, boxing, kickboxing, I feel like there may become more of a demand for harder rock playlists from their fitness app of choice. And I also think that because the sort of upper demographics are a little bit more, they're a little bit slower to technology, right? So they're slower to learning about fitness apps, using them, embracing them. I think that as they start to use them more, they're going to be like, okay, wow, there's a lot of great new pop music. I don't know about any of this stuff, but I would love to hear some of the stuff that I grew up listening to. So I feel like we may hear some more sort of 80s new wave, alternative, sort of Depeche Mode, Erasure, sort of, up-tempo, BPM, fits into a lot of the things that we use to select current pop music, but for that stuff that some of the upper demographics grew up listening to.
Right. Armando, any predictions?
Yeah, for me, what I see are some collaborations, high-tempo collaborations with, Latin artists, global artists. So we see artists coming from Africa. An example is, Wizkid and Justin Bieber. There's a new song, SG, by DJ Snake, and on that collaboration we have Ozuna, Megan Thee Stallion, and Lisa from Blackpink. So I think we're going to see more of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd build off all of those and say, in terms of upbeat things, we're seeing a lot more sort of hybrid genres coming out, and I think pop punk itself lends it to sort of both what Eric and Mike were talking about, of a little bit more rock and a little bit more upbeat, and sort of gives a little bit more sonic variety that feels not just your pure bubblegum pop or what you're hearing on the radio.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to our curators. Again, if you're interested in music curation, you're in the right place. This is Inside Music Curation. We're here every other week talking about themes around music curation for businesses. At Feed FM, we do a lot with fitness companies. If you're curious, you can check out feedfm.com or feedmediagroup.com, learn more about music for businesses, music for fitness, and get in touch if you're working on something for 2022. We'd love to help you curate the perfect fitness music station or station for your app. So thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well,